Hi, I'm Kara Tippett. Mike Line asked me if I would help do your devotion, and I feel so honored. So honored. I love Mike and love your radio station. It blessed me the 10 years we lived in North Carolina, so I feel extremely honored to be asked to share with you. And I just came home. I just got home from a funeral, and I was thinking about sharing with you all as I drove to this funeral. It was a funeral of a girlfriend who's been the sole caretaker of her sister with Downs for the past several years, and her sister recently died. And it was such a God-honoring service. And on the way there, I've just been thinking about love and I write a lot about how love never ends. So knowing my own mortality, knowing that I'm dying, the sense that the love that I give will live beyond me, especially the love that comes from God. And I think of this funeral tonight of this young lady named Christine who loved so unconditionally and was uniquely made to love that big. And then it got me to wondering, why is it that we withhold love? Why? In your area, where I lived for nearly 10 years in Asheville and Marion, North Carolina, there is a lot of knowledge of God. There's a lot of church attendance. There's a lot of people who know the truth of Jesus and love, much more than out here in Colorado. And yet, what is it about each of us that withholds love, that holds it back, keeps it to ourselves, refuses to share it with our neighbors like we're supposed to? And I think it's insecurity and fear. And I think of your high calling and longing to draw people to Jesus and an authentic relationship with Him in a culture that speaks the language of Christ often, but is afraid to step into the messy lives of other people that live right next door to them. And I think, how could I be an encouragement today? How could I love you in that high calling you have in a culture that often will have it figured out in a sense intellectually, but in practice struggles to live in love. And I think that the first struggle of that is that we don't allow ourselves to be loved by God. We don't allow ourselves to receive that love and let our love be a pouring of love to Him. Love poured into us and out into others. We don't live near to God. We don't realize that is the only goodness we have. And as I come to as cancer finds new corners every day in my body, I realize it's all I've got. Jesus is all I've got. And not only is He all I have, He's all I have to give. That matters. And so I was going to read an excerpt from my book, but I wanted to read one of my favorite devotions that was given to me years ago, Morning by Morning by Charles Spurgeon. But I have a favorite day, and I come back to it often. I read it after I found my cancer. I found my cancer on July, I believe it was July 12th, 2012. And this is from July 19th. So a week after that, I read this. I hope it encourages you. Man's eye is not single. He has ever a side glance towards his own honor, has too high an estimate of his own powers, and is not qualified to behold the glory of God. It is clear, then, that self must stand out of the way, that there may be room for God to be exalted. And this is the reason why He bringeth people oftentimes into straits and difficulties, that being made conscious of their own folly and weakness, they may be fitted to behold the majesty of God when he comes forth to work their deliverance. He whose life is one even and smooth path will see but little of the glory of the Lord, for he has few occasions of self-emptying, and hence but little fitness for being filled with the revelation of God. They who navigate little streams and shallow creeks know but little of the God of tempests, but they who do business in the great waters see his wonders in the deep. Among the huge Atlantic waves of bereavement, poverty, temptation, and reproach, we learn the power of Jehovah because we feel the littleness of man. Thank God, then, if you have been led by a rough road. It is this which has given you your experience of God's greatness and loving kindness. Your troubles have enriched you with a wealth of knowledge to be gained by no other means. Your trials have been the cleft of the rock in which Jehovah has set you, as he did his servant Moses, that you might behold his glory as it is passed by. Praise God that you have not been left to the darkness and ignorance which continued prosperity might have involved, but that in the great fight of affliction you have been capacitated for the outshinings of his glory and his wonderful dealings with you. And I think that so often we're tempted to see our suffering and our struggles as the absence of God's goodness. And when I read that, I realize it is his very presence. Because in my own brokenness, I can put myself aside and look for Jesus and ask for others to look for him with me. Cancer has given me a credibility that I never expected to have, where I can beg moms to meet their children in love. I can ask husbands to live in kindness towards their wives. And I can say this love, these little moments of grace, this spending yourself in love matters because Jesus spends himself towards us. I'm not disappointed in my story. There are days I want a different story. I've seen the faces of my young children, and I beg the Lord to stay longer. But I see the big moments in life that matter are when I'm all comfortable in bed with my book, ready to have my own time, and my child asks me to come snuggle them just a minute longer. And the grace when I move past my own comfort in that small way and into their lives matters. And so I get to write about that. I get to write moms and dads and beg them, what if instead of being angry at life, what if you pressed into Jesus and learned something of love today? And so that's my question to you, you beautiful staff. How today can you move past your own comfort, your own expectation of what today is to be or this week is to be, and let Jesus love you enough that love spills onto somebody else? It's stunning. It's beautiful. God bless you. I look forward to meeting you all. Mike, Lauren, I love you. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I talked too long. I knew I would. You can edit me all you want. Have a great afternoon, everyone.